friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. I am Martina Lily, and today we have another episode of This or That, where I compare same but different makeup products against each other and let you guys know their differences. If I have a distinct opinion over which one I think is better, or maybe which one you would pick based off of their differences. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully it sounds interesting. If it does, go ahead and do the YouTubey things. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's get into it. If you haven't caught one of my This or That videos before, essentially I do a combination of me talking to you like this and B-roll of me applying the product so you can see the differences. I will link my This or That playlist down below for you guys if you want to see other episodes, and let's get into it. Let's do these lip oils first. This is the Dior Lip Oil in 01, and this is the Clarins Lip Oil in 15 Blush Camelia. So kind of same but different really. And I'll insert a swatch on my hand of these two swatched next to each other, as well as me applying both of these lip oils. I do actually have a preference of these lip oils for a very specific reason, but I will get to that point. Now, the Dior Lip Oil is about 69 Australian dollars and the Clarins is about 45 Australian dollars. Obviously, if you're in the US or the UK or something, it's going to be different, probably a lot cheaper. The Clarins has 7 ml of product and the Dior has 5 ml of product. So if you are basing this purely on price, the Clarins is much better value. You get 2 more ml of product and you also get, and it is cheaper, sorry. Now the doe foot applicators and everything are pretty much the same in both of these products, and then the outer packaging is obviously very slightly different, so that's going to be a personal preference base. I don't really have a preference either which way over the packaging personally, because I actually just like both of the doe foot applicators. If they were different, I might feel differently, but the packaging is really same but different for me. Even the shade, really. The Dior definitely has a little bit more of a pink tint to it than this one. This one comes across a lot more just clear on the lips. In terms of hydration and what I personally like, I much prefer the Dior Lip Oil, because when I use the Clarins one, I can taste the fragrance in it. So for me, that's a big no-no. If that doesn't bother you in any way, or you're not sensitive to that, then you might really like the Clarins Lip Oil for yourself. In terms of like hydration and what it's supposed to do, it does it. Like, it's very hydrating, it feels lovely on the lips. It's just I cannot stand the fragrance taste of this. So for me to use this as a lip oil, like a lip balm throughout the day, I'm not going to really, because the fragrance drives me nuts and tastes horrible in my mouth. Whereas the Dior Lip Oil doesn't have any fragrance taste from what I can taste anyway, and that is delightful. I also find the Dior one personally a little bit more hydrating and nourishing and longer lasting on my lips than the Clarins one. I just feel like this one is slightly thicker in a good way, and just does a little bit more in terms of hydration and nourishment for the lips. So for me, the clear winner is the Dior Glow Lip Oil. But if the fragrance doesn't bother you, then price point and the fact that you get more product in the Clarins might be worth your while. But I do personally think the Dior is a better product. This is a really great time to just interject here and say this is all completely my personal opinion, my personal feelings, all of that jazz, like how I prefer makeup, that kind of a thing. So just take it with a grain of salt, you know, check out other reviews, all that kind of stuff. We all have different opinions, likes, differences, things perform differently on all skin types, all that jazz. Next up, we have the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Color Corrector in Pink Pomelo versus the Natasha Denona Hy-Glam Color Corrector in C1. The Huda Beauty Color Corrector is 45 Australian dollars with 9 ml of product, and the Natasha Denona Color Corrector is 49 Australian dollars with 7 ml of product. So again, if you're looking for the best value, it is the Huda Beauty one. Now, in terms of formula, I actually enjoy both of these color correctors. I think the formulas are quite lovely. The Huda Faux Filter one is pretty much exactly the same as the concealer, the Faux Filter concealer. So if you love the Faux Filter concealer, you will absolutely adore the Huda color corrector. And I love that this is so thin on the under eyes, and it really just melts into your skin instantly and does not impact the formula of whatever concealer you were putting over the top. So in terms of formula, I absolutely adore the Huda Beauty. I also really adore the Natasha Denona color corrector formula as well. It's slightly thicker on the skin or the under eye than the Huda, and a little bit more hydrating than the Huda as well, but like when I say thicker, it's not in a bad way, it's just more hydrating on the under eye, but it wears beautifully throughout the day as well, and it also does not impact the formula of whatever concealer that you're putting over the top. This is a slightly different formula to the Hy-Glam concealer, so I actually prefer the formula of this color corrector over the Hy-Glam concealer. Where I have a distinct difference with these is the shades, and I think you can tell from the demo that I do in the B-roll, the Natasha Denona shade is so much more suited to me and actually does a lot better job of color correcting for me than unfortunately the Huda Beauty. The Huda Beauty Pink Pomelo shade is just too deep for me and my skin tone, and until there's a lighter shade, I just am going to consistently choose the Natasha Denona one because it is a much better shade for me. If the Huda formula had a shade for me, it would be a really tough decision, and I potentially might go a little bit more towards the Huda Faux Filter Concealer, to be honest, or corrector, sorry, to be honest with you. But it is a little bit hard to tell when the shade is just not there for me, and this is for a fair to light skin tone, so I really hope that she does expand her shade range. So for me, the winner definitely is the Natasha Denona. We have the battle of the cream bronzers. So this side was the Nars Laguna bronzer in the shade 1, and this one is the Vieve Modern Radiance bronzer in the shade Light. Now price point is pretty much the same. Nars is about 61 Australian dollars and the Vieve is about 62 Australian dollars. However, where they differ is their product amount. The Nars has 19 grams of product and the Vieve has a whopping 33. Let me just triple check. Yep, 33 grams of product. So that is almost double. Like, that's a huge amount of product in this bronzer. So you're definitely getting more value for money with the Vieve. I really like both of these bronzers. I really do. I think they are absolutely beautiful in their own rights. I will say I do still prefer the Nars over the Vieve, but I'm going to tell you why. For me and my personal preference, the Nars is a little bit deeper of a skin tone. It's more of like a true kind of neutral bronzer tone, if you will, slightly leaning more towards a bronzer. It's a little bit deeper than the Vieve. Blends out absolutely impeccably, but it's also kind of like a soft natural finish on the skin, so very blurring on the skin in my personal opinion. Impeccable formula, impeccably to imply, wears beautifully throughout the day. With the Vieve, I really like this formula as well. However, this one is probably slightly too cool toned for me to use as, say, like a cream bronzer. Not in a bad way, but I think I just prefer the shade of this Nars one slightly more. But if I'm looking for more of a sculpt, then the Vieve is really a good option. It's also slightly sheerer than the Nars option, so I do need to build it up a little bit more, so it's just easier for me to use the Nars a little bit in that sense. I do like some color in my face. I'm quite pale and deathly most times. And the finish of this one is a beautiful, radiant, like healthy, juiced up skin finish, which is stunning. I love it, but I wouldn't say it's something that I would lean towards every single day, whereas the finish on the Nars is something that I could wear every single day and be in love. This one has its moments for me. I will still, it makes it sound like I'm not really going to use this a lot. Like, I do need to tell you that I highly rate this Vieve one. I really do. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. Just my personal preference is leans more towards the Nars because it is a natural finish, a little bit deeper, a little bit more bronzer leaning, whereas this one's a little bit more cool tone leaning, more radiant on the skin and less pigmented. So depending on your preferences within those differences is going to be where you lie in the this or that. But both of these are highly rated products from myself. Next up, we have the battle of the liquid highlighters. So I have the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin highlighters. I don't think that's what they're called. Elevated Glow highlighters. The Westman Atelier Liquid Super Loaded Highlighter and the Gucci, I'm going to call it the Liquid Illuminator because I can't pronounce it, the French pronunciation of it. So up until, well, for a very long time, the Lisa Eldridge Elevated Glow formula has been my absolute favorite liquid highlight. It's absolutely impeccable and I do really love this still. The Lisa Eldridge liquid highlighters, there's a whole shade range of them that's quite extensive, which is a huge pro. There is absolutely a shade for everybody in this collection. You get 13 ml of product in this packaging and it is about 50 Australian dollars, and the packaging is luxe. It is like this frosted glass, it's got some heft to it, and then it has a really nice doe foot applicator for the product to come out. So it's very easy to use, very like, I have zero complaints about the packaging of this. Next up, we have the Gucci Illuminator. This is about 95 Australian dollars. It has 12 ml of product in it. Packaging is terrible. It's this dropper. I hate it so much. I hate this. If this was a doe foot applicator, I'd be a lot happier. Aside from the dropper though, the actual external part of the liquid highlighter is absolutely stunning. Again, it's glass, it feels luxury, it looks beautiful, but I just don't like the dropper. This one is the only shade, which is a con, except for the fact that this pretty much goes on the face. So it's on this side right here. I don't have any powder highlighter over the top. This pretty much goes on the face translucent. So I actually do think that this would suit all skin tones. I really do, just because it really does translate quite translucent onto the skin. Then you have the Westman Atelier Liquid Super Loaded Highlighter. I have the shade Peau Rose, which is a pink leaning shade. There are 3 shades, and again, I believe that there will be a shade to suit everybody in this formula. Packaging is really beautiful. It is plastic, but it's very beautiful, and it comes with this kind of a dropper lid, so it is actually very easy to use. Like, I have no qualms with that. I think, you know, even when you get towards the end, you could just store it upside down and you're gonna be able to get most of the product out of this. This is a whopping 30 ml of product, and it is about, depending on where you buy it from, about 90 to 120 Australian dollars. This one as well, absolutely gorgeous. Basically goes on the skin. Now I do have it just here because I can only put so much highlighter on my face at one time, but it basically goes on the skin pretty much translucent, to be honest with you. And I think you can see in the swatches as well that this one is the most like translucent on the skin, or like sheer on the skin, if you will, for color. It also feels the most hydrating, the most like, not oily, it's not quite oily, it's like almost a gel moisturizer type feel. It's like, it's quite lovely, but it's definitely the most hydrating type formula out of all of them that I have, or out of the 3, sorry, that I'm discussing. And I think that this is really beautiful. You can absolutely use this as an all-over highlighter underneath your foundation if you've got dry skin and like that look. You can mix it in with your foundation. I even saw yesterday Michelle Wong put this on her under eyes as a bit of a corrector before she put concealer on, and she loved it. So potentially that could be an option for you guys. And then as a highlighter, it looks absolutely phenomenal. It goes on really well over powder as well, if that's how you apply it. That's how I personally apply it. Wears beautifully and looks super natural and just lit from within. And you can actually build this up to be a little bit more blingy than just that real natural lit from within. So I love this. I'm actually going to pick up a second shade in Peau de Peche as well, which is the champagne shade, because I can't get enough of it. It's an absolutely beautiful formula. Gucci formula, which is this one right here, as I've already talked about. You can see in the swatches as well, this is kind of the second sheerest formula, if you will, but it's interesting because in the swatch it has more pigment than what I think goes on the face. It really does go on the face just like a translucent glow, truly. This is the second most hydrating formula out of the 3. Definitely has that gel oil like formula, but is absolutely gorgeous on the skin. I think you can tell it really is so natural on the skin. Absolutely beautiful. Goes well over powder if you just use a very light touch. If you're going to go in too firm, or like, even I would definitely, if you're going to use this over powder, make sure you use a sponge just lightly to tap it on, because it will lift your foundation if you're going to kind of get too aggressive in there or blend out too much with your fingers or something. But I personally haven't had an issue with like it lifting my foundation at all with the way that I apply it. Obviously goes really well under powder. You could also use this as a primer and mix it in with your foundation as well. I love this. It is so natural and lit from within. It is absolutely gorgeous. The only con to this for me is the packaging, truly. And then we have the beautiful Lisa Eldridge Elevated Glows, and I absolutely adore these. I think these are absolutely impeccable. I love the shade range for them. I love the packaging. As I mentioned, there's nothing like, there's just, I can't fault these at all. So I have the champagne shade, or crystal nebula I should say, sorry, right here, and then I have the pink moon shade right here. And I gotta be honest with you, I was thinking that maybe these 2 would pip my Lisa ones, but they're not going to. This is just impeccable. Lisa's formula is just truly impeccable to me. It just looks so lit from within and stunning and natural on the skin. You can definitely build these up to have a bit more of a metallic, like blingy sheen if you wish, but you can just absolutely sheer these out. And again, you can wear them underneath foundation, mix them in with your foundation, whatever you wish, but there is just something about this Lisa Eldridge formula for me. In saying that though, I'm splitting hairs. My preference is the Lisa one. It's just stunning. But I also equally love these, and like, you'll pry them from my cold dead hands. I love having them all in my collection. And if you had to just pick one, it's just gonna go off your preference, like truly, but you know, I understand the Westman is double the price of the Lisa, but it does have double the product, so there's also that to consider. Maybe packaging is something for you to consider shade, but I don't know. Maybe I think I would pick the Westman if I wanted more of a skincare moisturizing product. I would pick the Gucci if I wanted something really quite translucent and like real juicy on the skin. And then I would pick the Lisa ones if I want something with a little bit more of a tint to it and that I could build up to be quite blingy if I wish to. Hopefully that has helped. I love all three of them though. I don't think you would go wrong in whichever one you picked. I really don't. They are all three just chef's kiss of a product in my opinion. Lastly, we have the battle of the cream blushes. So these are the Makeup by Mario Soft Pop Plumping Blush Veils, and this is the Pat McGrath Labs Color Balms. And they are really same but different products. Let's talk about the Makeup by Mario blush veils first. So these are about 55 Australian dollars and they have 5 grams of product in each of these compacts. Packaging is actually quite cute. I like that it has this clear part right here so that you can see which shade you've got, and it's quite a sturdy little compact in here. And then you get the kind of balm-like product right here. Shade range is pretty decent for these as well. This should be a shade for everyone, and it is kind of designed to be more of a sheer balm-like blush formula, not an intense blush formula. He has his soft pop blush sticks if you want that more intense pigment. So on this side I have this shade right here, which is Barely Blushing. This is my favorite shade that he released. I don't have any powder blush or anything over the top of it. Now, I personally love these blush veils. I think they are absolutely stunning. I love, you can apply these over powder, which is what I've done, and it doesn't lift your foundation at all. Obviously you can also apply it under powder as well if you wish, and you can build these up to be quite pigmented. You can sheer them out. They can be really a no makeup look, or just used in like a, you know, a fuller glam look. I like layering these. I like to put a layer of this on, and then I also like to set it with powder. That's just how I like to do my makeup, but you can see that I can wear it on its own and it still has enough kind of flush of color there for me. I like that it is juiced up and plumping on the skin. My skin looks really hydrated, but it doesn't look textured in any way, and it doesn't look greasy in any way, and I don't find that it enhances my oil throughout the day either. So I absolutely love the Makeup by Mario blush veils. The Pat McGrath Labs Color Balm Sticks, I also have come to really like these. In my review of these, I liked them, but I just said, oh, they're not particularly a product for me personally and my makeup preference, but the product itself is impeccable. And I've actually come to really grow to love these quite a bit. Now these are about 49 Australian dollars and you get 7 grams of product. So these are a better value than the Makeup by Mario one. I know some people don't like this cheap pink packaging. I actually quite like it. I know it's light. It doesn't feel luxe or anything, but I just kind of like the pink and everything. It's like my kind of a vibe, but that's a personal preference thing. I also love the shade range of the Pat McGrath Labs Color Balms. I actually think the shade range of the Color Balms is better than the Mario one. She's got some awesome unique shades. And I would love to have the whole collection just because the shade range is so unique and awesome, in my opinion. This side right here has the color Paradise Peony on it because it was kind of the closest to the blushing one. And I think you can kind of tell it has kind of like gone away, really. You can see a little bit more of this one than this side, I believe. And you can see this side looks a lot more juiced up than the other side. So how I actually like to wear these personally is I like to apply them how I applied it with the sponge. Normally if I use this with a sponge, it doesn't lift my foundation over powder at all. If I use it with a brush, it will lift my foundation over powder. Obviously you can use it under powder as well, and you know, that will be completely fine. But I like to use mine over powder. But how I like to use these normally is I like to put the cream blush on and then set it with a powder blush. And because this on its own for me is too glass skin, it's too juicy. So if you love that juicy glass skin look, these are your product. You will absolutely love these. But for me, I don't super love it. But when I set it with a powder blush, after like an hour, the powder blush melts into my cheek, and the healthy plump to my cheeks in a non-texturizing, just gorgeous lit from within juiced up skin look is impeccable, and that is why I have come to absolutely adore these, because as they wear throughout the day with the powder blush, they look absolutely divine. I do think if you have really oily skin, you won't like these. They are very much like a balm-like product, and maybe the blush veils are going to be more suited to you. These are actually gone up in my books. They've gone from being like, I like them, but they're probably not really a product for me, but I could see how for some people these would be a holy grail. I wouldn't say these are still a holy grail, but they've just gone up between the stage of like, I like them, holy grail, they're like in the middle now. So they have gone up a rung. But I will say, if I had to choose formula-wise between these two, I would pick the Mario Blush Veils. It's just more my type of formula on the skin. I really, really do love this formula a lot more than I like this one. These are like almost holy grail status. Like these are one step below holy grail status for me. But if I had to go off shade range, I would pick the Mcgrath Labs, because the shade range is really, really awesome in the Mcgrath Labs. So also, if you just want, like, these are hydrating, but also you can kind of tell, right? Like it's a little bit more of a naturalish finish on the skin, whereas you can tell this has so much more glow to it. So, you know, that also might impact your decision. Alrighty, that wraps up this episode of This or That. I hope it was helpful in some way, shape or form. Let me know other products that you want to see against each other, or just like demoed side by side, and my thoughts on each of the products, and let me know your thoughts on this video. I always love hearing from you guys. If you're watching till this point, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so, so much. I truly appreciate you, and I hope you have the most amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye!